Hello, everybody, and welcome to another edition of Interactive Wrestling Radio right here on WrestlingEpicenter.com. And I got to tell you guys, I'm excited to be doing this show because this past weekend on pay-per-view, we had the return of an American legend. Hacksaw Jim Duggan returned to face Muhammad Akbar at the AWE Night of the Legends event.
I heard about it. How was that show?
Honestly, I did see it. I did see the show, and it was enjoyable for what it was. I enjoy things like that because they're kind of spot shows, and you never know what you're going to get out of it. And it was enjoyable. There was clear flaws, and I don't think they need to be pointed out because I think anybody watching it could see it. The only thing that I will say coming away from it is that TNA is missing the ball by not hiring Larry Zbyszko as an announcer because he has still got some of the best one-liners ever. I mean, he was phenomenal on this show. It was him, Chris Cruz, and Dutch Mantell calling it, and Zbyszko really stole the show behind the announce booth because he just said a lot of crazy shit. So it was very, very cool.
And that's saying a lot because, you know, you look at today's wrestling product on both sides of the ball, WWE and TNA, the announce teams for both shows leave a lot to be desired.
Well, I'm just going to say this to James. Are you sure it just wasn't that the action in the ring was so bad that Zbyszko's poor comedy skills actually looked better in comparison?
Let me make it clear. If I had to choose if I was going to listen to Taz or Larry Zbyszko call a match, I would choose Larry Zbyszko every time. And that's not a shot. It's not a shot at TNA. I never was a huge fan of Taz's commentary. He's tolerable. I'm not saying that I don't like the show because of it. I'm just saying, honestly, I think Zbyszko's better.
But they're both better than Michael Cole and Booker T, right? And Jerry Lawler.
Better than Booker T, yeah, that goes without saying. But yeah, it was pretty amazing. And Chris Cruz, who's, for those who don't know who Chris Cruz is, he was a WCW announcer for a number of years. Usually did like the Pro and things like that. He kind of was the B team, one of the B team announcers. They had a lot of those. He struggled with the name because AWE stands for Awesome Wrestling Entertainment, and he kept calling it Awesome. And what was the other one? And at the end, he stopped calling it AWE altogether and just kept referring to it as the AWA, which I have to believe people up in Stanford are getting ready to send paperwork. So,
wow. They probably already sent paperwork and seized his firstborn child.
So this show was better than the Legends of Wrestling pay-per-view, that infamous show with Jake Roberts in the main event.
The Heroes of Wrestling, yeah. You want to play blackjack? You want to play 21? Well, I got 22. Actually, that would mean you lose then, Jake.
Well, hold on, guys. Conceivably, James could probably tape his two sons wrestling on the bed, and it might be better than a drunk, coked-up Jake Roberts main-evented pay-per-view.
Using his snake as a phallic symbol.
He was using it as a phallic symbol, and then he fell on the ground and just, didn't get up. So they sent out Bundy and Yokozuna to help out Neidhart because Jake was just a mess.
Oh, boy. All right, well,
it was Victory Road. It was Victory Road 2011 before Victory Road 2011. But yeah, it was.
Yeah.
Well, that will work as a good transition to the TNA discussion for the night, and I am going to warn everyone because I don't think there's any way to avoid talking about it. Spoiler alert. We'll probably discuss a huge spoiler from the Impact Wrestling tapings at some point during the show, and if you want to see it live, stop listening to the show. And then come back and listen to it.
You know what? I figured we were going to do a show this week, and after Bound for Glory, I was fully prepared to come onto this show and scream at the top of my lungs, fuck TNA, because of how they ended Bound for Glory.
Well, I'm going to say this. Bound for Glory was Rocky if Rocky had been knocked out in the final round. It was a good show, an enjoyable show, but they completely blew the ending. And what they do on Thursday is kind of like when a husband forgets his anniversary and does something nice to make up for it.
That is actually a phenomenal comparison.
Ladies and gentlemen, unless you're brand stinking new to this show, let me explain how it works, if you are brand stinking new. Patrick and James are very fair, honest guys. I am the most biased jackass in the world, and I pick TNA as my vote. And I will do everything I can to build up TNA while tearing down the fucking idiots that run Ring of Honor and the goddamn soulless bastards that run the WWE. But on Sunday, as I watched Bound for Glory, I was thinking, this is a pretty good show, pretty good matches. The Hogan stuff was a lot better than I thought it was going to be. And then it gets to the big main event, I'm thinking, oh, this is going to be so cool. Bobby Roode's finally going to win the TNA World title. This is going to be awesome to see. It's going to be the cap-off moment to this fun pay-per-view. And then Angle pins Bobby Roode. And I know they're saying, oh, well, Angle was grabbing the rope, and Roode had his foot under the rope, and the referee blew it. I'm thinking, they can't end on this. Dixie's in charge now. She can come out and be the big babyface savior. No, they can't end on this. They can't end on this. Fuck the credits!
Yeah.
They blew it.
When I saw the banner pop up, when I saw that, like, blue and white banner come up, I was like, no! Fucking no! And they did that. I was like, wow, that is, like, one of the worst endings. I
was sitting there. I actually listened to the stupid song they had playing in the background, too. I'm thinking, okay, this is, like, the biggest fake ever. They're going to come back on. They're going to bring it on like a second after it ends and say, oh, we got breaking news. I hope you're all still there, and start it over again. I'm like, it can't possibly end that way. And then when it actually was over, I just kept sitting there staring and thinking, really? Then I immediately just kind of said, look, if they were going to do it that way, they should have just resequenced the event. And I would be, Nick said I'm honest, and you know what, I appreciate him saying that because I know I'm a little bit biased towards Hogan.
He's honest until he starts talking about Hulk Hogan. Then he becomes this mind-washed zombie brain that is absolutely convinced that Hulk Hogan has never done anything wrong. James actually once had a 10-minute conversation with me where he explained why Hogan was the sole reason Rocky III was a success.
Oh, come on, dude.
I don't remember
he was in that movie.
I have the tapes, James.
Okay. All right. Well, maybe I don't remember it, but that doesn't mean it didn't happen. Here, going into it, I said and I meant that Hogan and Sting should not be the main event. It shouldn't have been the main event. Coming away from it, I think it should have been, and here's why. If they were going to do the stupid ending, which they did, that sent people home with a bitter taste in their mouth. I don't think it would have been as bitter had they just reversed it and just let the Hogan and Sting match be the end. And you could argue that it would have been better anyway because this way Dixie gets the company back and they could have somehow incorporated her into the celebration at the end. What they should have done at the end of this show was have Bobby Roode win it, Dixie Carter come in and, you got a tagline for it, like, oh, brand new beginnings and all that things, things like that. And unfortunately, it just kind of was like, really? That's it?
Now, and I'll say this, I agree with you, James. The way they did it, Hogan and Sting should have closed. That ending was way better than what they did with Angle and Roode. That said, going into this pay-per-view, and I've said this before, I didn't give a shit about anything else. Like, okay, rest of the card, take it or leave it. I expected Hogan and Sting to be a complete disaster. It wasn't, by the way. I will say that match was about 100 times better than I thought it would be. Not that it was phenomenal or anything, but considering my low expectations, it was actually kind of decent. And the ending was kind of a cool mark-out moment. So, all right, no harm done. But Bobby Roode versus Kurt Angle was the only match I was even remotely invested in, and that was the main reason I checked out this pay-per-view. And for it to end like that, after all that build-up that they put into Bobby Roode, the whole thing just felt like a waste of time.
Well, I'm going to say it again. It's like Rocky. It's like the movie Rocky if Rocky gets knocked out in the end. Remember, throughout the movie Rocky, he just kept saying to everyone, I just want to go the distance. I just want to prove I can last. And if he gets knocked out in the last round against Apollo Creed, it is crushing. It pretty much makes you go, what the fuck did I even watch this for?
It turns Rocky into $1 million babies.
Yeah, basically. And I mean, that's just it. And Patrick and I even talked about this last week. you can really when you have someone built up the way TNA had built up Bobby Roode, and he doesn't win the belt, that you may never get that momentum with that guy again, no matter how hard you try. Because
you know,
blew a
Nick,
big moment.
I'm going to jump in. We talk about it on the show a lot, and when Eric Clancy was a part of the show a lot, we coined the phrase, or at least used the phrase way too much, window of opportunity.
I agree.
And I think that we just saw the window slam on his dick.
I don't want to go that far because I honestly believe that Bobby Roode is a talented enough guy that he should be a world champion someday. But, and I'm trying to avoid directly saying it until like we can really get in depth about it because we're talking about Bound for Glory. I feel like they left a door or a storyline there for him to be in the world title picture going forward after the events of this week's Impact. But with all that buildup, all that momentum you had him overcome 11 other guys. He was going into the biggest show of the year against the guy that, and I know James is going to be pissed off if I say this, but the guy TNA presents as their very best ever. The way TNA presents Kurt Angle is he's Randy Couture. He's Muhammad Ali. He's Joe Montana. He's Joe Montana. And if this is the guy that beats him, it's like, wow, yeah, he's the guy, he's the man. That should have been the ending of this story. I feel like now they have just completely. It's like they just completely set the guy back. They not only do they have to start from scratch, they have to start from even worse than scratch. They got to get the scratch together again. Because now people are looking at it and say, well, he had his opportunity. He choked.
Well, exactly. What we're going to have to sell is the fact, it's the, you know what this reminded me of, and it's a terrible reference, but it's the truth. Does anybody remember Sold Out 2000 and the clusterfuck that show was? No. If you need, what happened?
Well, that doesn't narrow it down with WCW, unfortunately.
Here's what happened. Russo got fired, left the company, whatever, the weekend of, or the week before, or the week of, and it was supposed to be the triple threat theater between.
Oh yeah, now I remember.
Yeah, and Jarrett ended up having a concussion, so he couldn't work, and it was just a big cluster. And the ending was actually the guy who shall never be named again winning the world title over Sid Vicious, and the ending to that match was Sid's leg was under the rope. And it was very reminiscent of this. The only difference is everybody was excited at the end of that one, and everybody was kind of like, really? At the end of this one.
Right. If they wanted to leave the door open for an immediate rematch, which, well, that's what I thought they were going for, but the event coming up, which I told you we're going to discuss, is...
By the way, before we get on that, Kurt Angle was injured going into this match and is going to be taking time off. So, again, I have to question the decision even further just based on that alone.
And you could...
Well, here's the thing with Kurt.
While Angle didn't look like Hogan... and Hogan was basically immobile, and I still say had one of the better matches of the night, momentum-wise, crowd-wise. Angle really didn't look anything like himself at all, and, Nick said he was injured, then obviously so. I don't think you can deny that.
Right. Well, unfortunately, Pat, though, I think part of the reason is, when isn't Kurt Angle injured? With all this guy, I'm not making a joke here. This is a guy that says it all the time, I want a gold medal with a broken freaking neck. And he's wrestled his entire professional career with some type of injury. The shocking thing isn't Kurt Angle gets injured and he tries to work through it. I'm assuming, knowing Kurt, they probably said, well, Kurt, how bad's this injury? I'll work through it. And then he woke up the next day and it's just like, fuck, I can't work through this. I really can't this time. Which, that's the shocking thing. This guy actually is taking time off. Because this is a guy that...
I mean, the match they had was actually pretty good, considering, but Angle did not have the same kind of pop in his moves and all that he usually does. It was very kind of forced on his part. So I'm not at all surprised or disappointed that he's taking time off, because I don't think anybody wants to see somebody like him, who we view as such a great worker, as anything less than that.
Right.
Does that make any sense?
Well, here's the thing. I honestly believe Kurt Angle is the single most driven guy to have the best match each and every time out there. I think there's no one that tries harder than him to steal the show. And I feel like because of that, he so often pushes himself too hard and does this to himself, where he, I think they always talk about it. Amateur wrestlers have a problem transitioning to pro wrestling because there's not a competition. Well, Kurt Angle's head, the competition is having the best performance that night. Unfortunately, this is a guy that, I'll be honest, I think he's going to wind up in a wheelchair when his career's over.
Well, a lot of them have. I mean, even people don't seem to remember this, but Lord Alfred Hayes, for example.
Yeah.
The last time I saw Lord Alfred Hayes, he was in a wheelchair with barely the ability to move his hands completely. I mean, he couldn't walk. He had trouble to use his hands. And this is a guy who, he wrestled at a time where the style of wrestling, while hard, was nowhere near the daredevil state that it is now. And Angle has done all that stuff, despite coming from that mat wrestling amateur legitimate background. Angle is doing moonsaults off the top of a cage. Angle is doing all the stuff that the holy shit moments. Yeah, he's doing it, and I would not be at all surprised if he does end up in a wheelchair. And I think that'll kill him, because I don't imagine that he'll be happy with that at all.
Well, here's the thing. I think he winds up in a wheelchair, and then he winds up playing, like, what was it? It was like a documentary a couple of years ago, Murder Ball.
Murder Ball. No, anybody ever seen Moneyball yet, by the way?
Well,
no, I wanted to. It looked good.
It was good, yeah.
Well, James, it's October. Nobody sees anything involving the Oakland A's in October because they don't do anything in October.
By the way, and Patrick, I know we've discussed this in the past, and you weren't a fan of the movie. As an adult, I went back and watched Angels in the Outfield the other day.
Right.
Wait a minute. Patrick doesn't like Angels in the Outfield.
Patrick does not like Angels in the Outfield, the last I heard anyway.
I was not a fan of that movie. I don't know what it was. It just didn't click with me.
I cried like a little bitch.
All right.
I didn't care for it that much. I liked it when I was a kid, but I didn't care for it that much. But when I saw it as an adult, I was like, he dropped in a boat. I was really, really crying.
I'll be honest, I don't think I can be Patrick's friend anymore.
Yeah, I know. It's just one of those movies I just never cared for. I mean, keep in mind, I haven't seen it since I was 10, so you cut me some slack.
However, we both love Little Giants, Nick.
Okay, that movie was okay.
Spike don't play with girls. Spike don't care. Didn't you hear? You mess with Spike, you mess with death.
Wait, you know what? I think I have another great comparison about me being a fan of TNA. All right, I feel like a New York Giants fan dealing with Eli Manning, where every time I think he's set up to do something really good, he finds a way to fuck something up.
Except that Super Bowl we won, right?
Did he win that Super Bowl, or did they win despite him being their quarterback?
Yeah.
He was the MVP.
He was the MVP, and I'll tell you what, I fear December with him, but I started out the season saying I didn't think he'd make it until like week 10 and as the quarterback because he was so bad at the end of last year, and here he is ranked the third best quarterback in the league right now. So I guess I have to eat those words for right now.
Yeah, but doesn't he lead the league in interceptions still?
No, I think he has just as many as Brady.
You know who might lead the league in interceptions? Michael Vick. Holy shit.
Ooh,
it's been horrible, man.
He almost took a cheerleader's head off last week, too.
Yeah.
So now they have a new golden child, the winless Cam Newton. And it's like, he's so great. Oh, yeah, I love that win. Oh, wait a minute. Didn't happen. Sorry, he's a rookie, and he's good. And I'm sorry, but he's black, and that means he's got to be a good quarterback. But everybody really loves this guy. I'm sorry I'm turning into Rush Limbaugh with this, but I do think there's some legitimacy to that because their love affair with this guy is just like based on what?
The
based
fact
on nothing.
that he had the fact that he had 2 400-yard games to start his career, the fact that the losses are primarily to be blamed on his defense, and they're not saying that he's the best quarterback in the league. What they're saying is the way this guy's playing in his rookie year, if he keeps at this kind of pace, he's going to be a great quarterback, especially if they can get some talent around him.
Recording stopped.
Oh.
Why the recording stop?
I didn't do that.
Because I made...
There we go. Sorry about that, guys.
Right,
No, I didn't stop it intentionally if it stopped.
Now, do we still have the first portion?
Yes, we do, as far as I know. I believe so, yes.
Oh, okay.
You know what we should have done? We should have come on the line and we want to say, thank you very much, Mr. Bret Hart, for joining us and giving his exact views on why he will never return to the WWE. We should have had some kind of joke ready.
Which,
Actually,
by the way, I'm going to take a stab at Bret Hart here, and I love Bret Hart to death. I'm a huge Bret Hart fan. But, dude, you know, Hogan's match where he did almost nothing was better than your match where you did almost nothing. Just throwing that out there.
He's going to track you down and kill you.
I'm just saying, Hogan outperformed you, buddy.
All I'm saying here, guys, and I'm going to probably leave soon with this thought process, okay?
Uh-huh.
All right, we used to have a tagline called "The Rules Have Changed." That was part of our tagline. I got a new one for the site.
Uh-oh.
Ready? Wrestling Epicenter. We're here because we're not all there.
Yeah.
I think that works.
Good.
I think that works for us.
I don't know what the fuck you nuts are talking about. I'm completely here.
All right. Yes, but where are you?
I'm in Omaha, Nebraska.
Oh, okay.
Well, where do you think I am? Have I ever mentioned that I was moving?
Not that I'm aware of, no. Just jobs, but I think you mentioned that last week on the air, anyway.
Yeah, well, not sure if I did, but hopefully my boss never listens to this because I haven't actually told them yet that I'm looking for a new job.
Well, good luck to you. Good luck to you.
Yeah.
Well, I'm sure you got sick of being mugged and held up at gunpoint. So,
can I make a comment here real quick? And I want to go back to the AWE event real quick. The main event was actually Kevin Nash and Diamond Dallas Page versus the Rock and Roll Express, and they sent home Robert Gibson and Diamond Dallas Page like at the very beginning of the match. So basically, there was no point for them to even be there, really. So there was a one-on-one match between Ricky Morton and Kevin Nash based on something I remember, but I'm willing to bet nobody else does, which was a War of the Words from 1999 between Nash and Morton on their websites.
Wait.
I guarantee you nobody remembers that except me.
Wait, Ricky Morton has a website?
Oh, God, I don't know. Yeah,
Because considering how much that guy's in the run for not paying child support, you think he'd have no time to update anything.
I was about to say that. I was about to say nomoneyforchildsupport.com or something like that would be his website. Deadbeatdad.com. He and Ric Flair share a website.
Oh, Bozinga.
Well, no, from what I understand, it's not that Flair doesn't pay his kids; he doesn't pay his bills.
Just ask High Spots.
A Ring of Honor.
By the way, whatever happened to that NWA title belt? The last I think I heard of it, it was High Spots said they had it as collateral, and somebody else said he had put it up for collateral with them. And they were like going to court to fight it out.
I don't know, but if it ever shows up on WWF TV, it'll be blurred out.
Yeah.
Pixelated.
Which they did that with the Dusty Rhodes DVD, too.
Did they really?
Seriously?
At least on the cover. Like, the cover is a shot of Dusty wearing the NWA World Title belt, and it's almost kind of like they whited it out. Like, because it's real, like, it's like you can tell he's wearing a belt, but they just completely have, like, whited out the details.
Huh.
Well, if they have to censor part of the picture, then why use it as the cover?
See, that's just it. Other than a million other Dusty Rhodes pictures you could have used.
Yeah, it had the polka dots with Sapphire. That would have been one that I would put on the cover. Real quick question here, guys, and that kind of plays into this, and I'm going to leave pretty soon, but my question is, did you see the commercial where they got this guy's, I got lots of problems, son, but bitches ain't one, or whatever the hell it is, and they say the same line like 30 times? I don't care if the song is catchy, and personally I don't find it that catchy. Why are we using songs where we have to censor them on commercials? Why don't we just pick one that you don't have to censor?
A good question. I don't know. I haven't seen this commercial that you're talking about, but
it's on a lot of the football games. Nick probably has.
Is it a car commercial?
I don't even know what they're advertising, to be honest with you. I think so, but I don't even know. But I was just amazed that they like, why are we using songs where we have to censor the commercial? Why don't we just pick a different song? I'm sure the artist, even if you want to stick with the same artist, just pick a different song that doesn't have to be censored.
Well, if it's a rap artist, I don't think they do songs where they don't swear.
Get the Walmart version of the CD then, or something, and you know where it's censor that or bleep that or something. I guess that's what they did, but.
All right, so that's James. All right, I think we need to get like a soundbite for this, for something like James Walsh's crazy random thought of the week.
Yeah, my Andy Rooney moment. Yeah,
why was that Jim Duggan never world champion?
What's sad is I'm sure James actually has had that thought. He probably has sat up at night just thinking, he was really over. And I always thought his matches were better than people give him credit for. I mean, sure, he wasn't more popular than Hogan, but you had that whole down period. Everything is about as comparable as Ric Flair in terms of popularity as Flair and the Ultimate Warrior at the time. I could just see James doing that, even like waking up Cassie, trying to
justify how I told you Duggan should have been world champion.
Well, he's trying to force Hacksaw into every top 5 list we have.
As for the record, he had a pretty good match.
And if we had done that top 5 authority figures list, I'm sure somehow he would have argued Hacksaw Jim Duggan as a janitor would have qualified as him as like the authority
the guest referee in the penalty box match from WCW Sin in 2001. He was the best goddamn special enforcer referee ever.
Oh, God. Better than Mike Tyson. Actually, you know what? Mike Tyson wasn't that good. He can't do a proper 3 count.
He's better than Muhammad Ali.
Yeah.
Who just kind of came out there and just waved as the onset of Parkinson's began.
He also was at, and it was sad. At Halloween Havoc '94, he was in the crowd, and Hogan went over and hugged him. And Muhammad Ali, we're going back 17 years now. He could barely lift his arms at that point. I mean, he's really, God bless him, but he's not doing well.
Oh yeah.
Well, it happens with a lot of boxers, actually. I know he has Parkinson's, but go back, look up some boxing stars from like the 50s and see how coherent they are.
Well, I don't want to be that depressed, Patrick.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. All right. Well, anyway, I think we should get back to wrestling. And I think the other story that we probably want to talk about, at least a little bit, is still TNA related, and this is probably the one where spoiler alert.
Major spoiler alert.
Yeah, major spoiler alert. All right. Tomorrow night on TNA Impact, longtime TNA employee Jake Storm will win the TNA World title. And this is a classic example of kind of getting what we wanted, just not how we wanted it.
Yeah, we accused the WWE of that when they pushed Sheamus. But yeah, we want new stars, but not him, and not this quickly. What the hell are you doing?
Well, I'll say this. There has been a little side story that they've been doing with Storm and Angle, where Storm had a match with Angle, and Angle cheated to win, and then Angle came out and threw him in the steps during the his match with Bobby Roode, and even like last week on the show was, Angle was trying to turn Storm against him, and it's like, so there is something on there for those two to have another match. The problem is, I'm just thinking to myself, on Sunday, you could have put the belt on Bobby Roode, gotten the belt off of Angle, who apparently needs time off, and then you could have done the James Storm-Bobby Roode feud. Because I assume that's where they're going to go at some point with this. I mean,
yeah, that might even be the main event of their next pay-per-view. Who knows? But this reminds me of, and I'm going to reference Ring of Honor here. They did this earlier this year with the American Wolves. We all thought Davey was going to get the belt, and then out of nowhere they just put it on Eddie Edwards, and it's like, as somebody who does not follow Ring of Honor regularly, my first reaction was, who the fuck is Eddie Edwards?
Well, let's not go that far. I mean, at least I think even casual TNA fans are aware of who James Storm is. I want to make this clear. I'm not bashing James Storm on this.
No, not at all.
I think he's probably one of my 5 favorite wrestlers right now. And I think, and he's one of those guys that, you have wanted to see 4 years get this kind of an opportunity. But in terms of who I think is the better option to be the world champion, it's Bobby Roode. I think he should have, especially with all the build they gave to Roode in the Bound for Glory series. And I don't say this again, I absolutely love Storm, and I'm thrilled that he's getting an opportunity like this. And I am going to enjoy this match on tomorrow. I am going to be like, yeah, hey, James Storm is the world champion. Way to go, man. But I do feel like the better option is Bobby Roode. And part of it is, I think, from a character standpoint. I think it's I do think mainly from a character standpoint. That's the big issue, because I do think they're together. They're equals in the ring. I don't know. I just feel like Bobby Roode fits the mold of is someone that's more likely to be the big breakout star than James Storm. I feel like with Storm, there's a little bit extra you have to do, but I just think the better move would have been to just put the belt on Roode, and then if you wanted to, try feuding with James Storm. Even if you didn't want to turn Storm heel, which I guess they don't because he's beating Angle, have it be, have Roode even say, look, if there's one guy who got screwed out of an opportunity to beat me, it was James. If there's one guy who I know knows me better than anyone, it's James. Let's do the match. Let's see who really is the best member of Beer Money. So, I mean, I don't want to knock Storm again. I just want to keep repeating that. I think he is deserving of his opportunity. I just feel like at this time, the better option was Bobby Roode.
And I'll say this. Number one, why should I order your pay-per-views again when you end Bound for Glory like that, and then you do the big title change at the Impact tapings? That's just disappointing in of itself, and I feel like I wasted my money. Number two, I would be saying this if Storm had been the guy that had won the Bound for Glory series and they had given that great build-up too. And I would have said absolutely. And then they screwed Storm over at Bound for Glory and then did this with Roode and had him win the title. I'd be saying the exact same thing. It's just a horrible mishandling of your build-ups and your characters. And you're right, Bobby Roode was the better option at this point just based on how they had built him up at this point in time following the Bound for Glory series and leading into Bound for Glory. It's just, I'm just flabbergasted with how they handled this whole thing.
Right, and I'll say this. And I know he's not the head writer anymore, but this stinks of a Russo swerve. And I'm not saying I don't believe he did it, but it's in that vein that everyone hates. The swerve so often Russo gets credit for. This is in the vein of that. This is, it's like, oh yeah, everyone thinks it's going to be Roode, let's put it in Storm. And now, from what I understand, you got to be somewhat careful with this, but and there was a radio interview that he did where Hulk Hogan was going around telling people, well, Storm, Roode's not ready, and look, while I'll give Hogan credit on the match he had on Sunday, and he's not the only one to blame because there are people above him who can override him, apparently. But for him to say stuff like Roode's not ready really is the kind of thing that pisses me off about Hulk Hogan's involvement with TNA, because I'm always convinced that I always get the feeling that Hogan clearly is always going to look out for Hogan. I'm feeling here at this point in your life, man, start giving back a little. You know, and the fact that he was even saying that 24 hours before the pay-per-view, I'm like, seriously, man, this is the guy that's about to main event you're the biggest pay-per-view for the company you work for, and you're telling people he's not ready in public? You're not even voicing it behind the scenes. You're voicing it in public.
Yeah, I agree. That was very stupid of him. And it does make you wonder, did Hogan want to recreate Mania 18 where he outshines the main event, and so the whole ending of the main event had to be changed just to make sure that happened? I don't know.
Well,
I wasn't back there. I don't know what goes on, but it does make you wonder.
Well, I'll say this. I don't know Hulk Hogan personally. I've never even done an interview with him. I'm like, James, I think, is done. But a lot of the stuff I read, a lot of the stuff I see, a lot of the stuff that I hear tells me that this is the guy that is the single most driven person to preserve and help himself under any circumstance. I think you hit the nail on the head, Pat. And I don't even think that sometimes I don't think it's something that he does intentionally, but he's so ingrained with the quote unquote wrestling game that he can't see the forest through the trees, and you have Hogan and Bischoff going on, Facebook and Twitter saying stuff like, suck it, haters, and, nobody sees the big picture. I'm like, you and I, Patrick, I think do have a pretty good grasp of the big picture. We're not the average Internet fans. And we think this was a bad move. And, and I even feel like Storm deserves better. Like, if he was finally going to be the world champion, he deserves to be built up more. He deserves to have that moment be like, instead of everyone going, really? That's what they did? People should be like, oh, yeah, I know he could do it. I feel like he deserves better for his first championship reign, because this is a guy that has busted his ass for, all these years in TNA. This is a guy, has been a part of how many great matches for this company. This has been a guy that I was almost always afraid, like, he's never really going to get his due for how good a worker he is. Because, most of his career has been in tag teams.
And it has been. But here's my concern, and this is the truth, and I don't know if you guys are debating the Hogan factor here or not.
A little bit, but we're not bashing him completely, but we are saying it does stink that he might have had. I feel like he had a hand in it, but there are but I'm saying shame on a lot of people who could call his bluff and didn't.
They should have. I think they should have. I'm the biggest Hogan defender in the world, but I think that Bobby Roode should have won this match. That said, when Hogan goes on these rants, people take it, oh, he's being a dick to AJ. No, he's telling the truth. I'm sorry, but he's telling the truth. AJ's the best worker in the company, in my opinion. I think he still is, even though his stock has fallen over the past 2 years. But you'll never see AJ Styles on the O'Reilly factor, not unless he snaps and kills his family. You're never going to see. You're not going to see AJ Styles do these shows on Jay Leno, on The Tonight Show, anything like that. And it's a shame, but what we need to do is we need to find somebody, because we can't have a 60-year-old figure of the company as he gets older and older and just not create a new guy who can do those things. Yes, I agree, the best guy to go out and do these talk shows and defend TNA and bring it to the public is Hogan right now. But we need to have somebody new go out there with him. And
James, I'm going to say this. AJ's issue is not that he's not doing these shows with Hogan. His issue is Hogan goes on these shows and he buries people. He buries the roster. That's the kicker. I mean, quite honestly, I'm just going to ask, I'm just going to say this. What if in 1984, when Hulk Hogan was scheduled to win the world title, what if, Vince McMahon said, well, Andre, what do you think of Hulk Hogan? If Andre had said, Hogan not ready to be champion.
Hogan not ready, boss.
He's not ready for second.
Hogan not ready, boss. Yeah, something like that, yeah.
Well, I'm just going to say this. If you had that's the issue. I think the issue is not that AJ's like, well, God, I should be the one doing these shows. I think AJ's issue is
that's not what.
Why are you going on these shows and bashing Bobby Roode before he's going to main event pay-per-view?
It's like it's sort of like I'll use football again as an example. It's like what's his name from the Jets calling out the offensive line. Antonio Holmes saying, well, whose fault it is? It's all the offensive line's fault because they can't protect Mark, and then Mark can't throw a decent pass. People are kind of saying, hey, a lot of the NFL players that are analysts now are saying, you shouldn't say this stuff in public. Keep it in-house. Keep it in the family.
And I agree. And I don't think that Hogan should have gone on and say it. But when they're getting into the Twitter wars, Hogan's saying, well, you're not going to see AJ Styles do the Tonight Show. And he's right. And unfortunately, that is something that TNA needs to work on. And that's something that, unfortunately, WWE has always had over everybody else, is that they've found the right guy who they can send out there to represent their company well. And even if he's not the greatest worker, looking at you, John Cena, he's not going to embarrass the company when he goes out and does it. The rare example of where they had both is a guy that they sent out who honestly never really got the opportunity to do all those talk shows the way he probably should have, but was a great worker, and that was Edge. And whenever he did go out and do those things, he made a great showing for the company because here's an intellectual guy who has the rock star look who can actually freaking work. I mean, Edge is going to go down as one of those guys that we're going to miss a hell of a lot.
He never became as big as he should have.
Absolutely not.
But again, James, though, here's the thing. Hogan is not arguing a point that's valid. He goes, well, these guys are never going to be on the Tonight Show. That's not their issue with Hogan right now. Their issue isn't, I think the people in TNA are very realistic of knowing the problems they have in the company. They know that they're lacking in a huge recognizable name that they created themselves that people around the world know. They're aware of that. But again, their issue with Hogan is when he goes on these shows, he doesn't mention the company, he mentions it in passing, or he comes out and says about the man that's about the main event, he's not ready.
I was about to say that, though. They're never satisfied, though, because if he does these shows and isn't wearing a TNA T-shirt with the TNA flag hanging from his bald spot, people are getting angry, saying, he's not defending the company enough. But if he does mention the company and they're actually getting into a discussion about the roster, he said something bad about somebody. It's like, I have opinions, too.
Well, look, James,
and I got to be honest, watch the tape back.
He doesn't love the company enough. He's all about promoting this company.
Rude should have won the match. Rude should have won that match. I don't deny it. I'm not going to say that he shouldn't have. But I will say this. I do think there was a large, and Nick is going to go nuts on this, I think there was a large number of people in that crowd who didn't know who the hell he was.
Really? You're honestly going to say that? That people didn't know who this guy was? A group full of TNA fans didn't know who Robert Roode was?
Based on the crowd reaction in comparison to the match prior, the
match prior, which freaking had everything thrown at it. I mean, we talk about it all the time. Crowds get tired. We always talk about the popcorn match. You even said it last week. There should have been a filler match between the
Hardy
match.
and Jarrett thing should have been between the two matches, I think. Absolutely.
Right. Well, here's the thing, James. Crowds get tired. And to a certain extent, you're acting like nobody responded. There was a pretty good-sized pop.
It was a fair pop. I'll say that, but I do think there was a portion of it of, who is this guy? And I will say that even in my household where I was watching it, and I admit we don't watch TNA as regularly as we should have. I do. I watch it every week, but, I kind of watch it, while Cassie's having a bath at night. And I kind of watch it, then, right before I crash. So not everybody knew, but everybody's like, well, who's that guy? And it's like, he's one of the guys from Beer Money. And they're like, oh, okay. I mean, it was a level of that. And I don't think that's, in my opinion, that's no excuse for not giving him the belt. And that's the truth. I think that he should have won it.
All right, but James, these were not some casual fans that were never watching the show. Those people are TNA fans. You're not going to go to a pay-per-view if you don't know who the show is. And you keep talking about people didn't know who he was. People didn't know who he was. Well, these people not see the months leading up to the pay-per-view where he was on all these different matches? Have they not seen the years that he's worked for this company as one of its bigger homemade stars? Did they not see the countless number of video packages they did with this guy talking about his goals, his dreams, his history? Honestly, to say people didn't know who he was, that is just you making shit up. I'm sorry. I honestly think you're nuts to say there was a group of people that didn't say didn't know who he was. It's insane to even say that.
I'm not saying that it's a valid excuse. I'm just saying that it's a true, I think, occurrence. But I do agree with you. He should have won that match.
That's like me. Well, you know what? That's like me saying people only pop for Hogan turning babyface because they like to see T-shirts get torn, or they're conditioned to react to that. No, there are people that like Hulk Hogan and want to see him as a babyface. I'll admit that. But you're making shit up when you say no one knew when you're saying people didn't know who he was. You're making up this.
You know what?
You're going. It's a fair pop. It's a fair pop.
Maybe not in the arena. Okay. Maybe not in the arena. But I will say this: when Hogan's doing ESPN, the guys on ESPN wouldn't know who he was. However, I will say this: those ESPN guys on SportsCenter consistently over the past couple of weeks have brought up Ric Flair's name, like a lot. Going to commercial break, they've been wooing.
Okay.
I think Flair should be world champion for that reason.
What?
That I don't mean. I'm making shit up on that one. I just wanted to hear Nick go nuts on that.
Tell you what, I'll say this. Going back to the James Storm thing, I'll say this. Thank God it wasn't Jeff Hardy. Because when Rude lost, I was like, oh my God, they're going to give the belt to Jeff Hardy. That's what they're going to do. And so far they haven't done that. I don't think Hardy should be putting that spot ever again. And history's kind of on my side there. So, yeah. So at least they put it on somebody that's reliable.
Well, here's the thing. I don't think right. You know, the internet was reporting it. Oh, there was going to be another Jeff Hardy run. I think that was, Meltzer and Johnson and that fat, stupid son of a bitch, Jason Powell, who says, I still don't understand how you score points in the Bound for Glory series. I really don't understand. So they win matches?
It's not that hard. Dude, it's not that hard. How dumb are you?
He even said it says, it's the most complicated scoring system I've ever seen. I mean, they get 7 points for a win. He kept getting hooked up on the number 7. I'm like, okay, what school and what state did you go to? Because I need to make sure to completely avoid that when I have children.
I guess football's too complicated for him. Touchdowns worth 6 points with an extra point giving you 7? I don't get it.
I mean, he was still talking about it. He brings it up all the time. He was talking. I guess Sanjay Dutt or whatever did an interview about that All Wheels Wrestling pilot. He was like, well, I guess TNA got the scoring system from All Wheels Wrestling, but the All Wheels Wrestling system seems a lot easier to understand since you only get 1 point for every victory. I'm like, dude, are you that stupid that after the thing's over you're still trying to bitch about it? Oh, God. I think there are people doing news, we all know, there's a fair amount of it that is just complete and utter bullshit speculation. I think the reports that Jeff Hardy was going to get another run was just like people saying, oh, Rude didn't win it, but Jeff Hardy's back. That means Hardy's going to get it, which, admittedly, Patrick was...
I didn't read that on the internet. I assumed that myself. I was like, oh, God, that's what they're going to do. And so far they haven't, which is good.
There was a part of me that was afraid of that. Like, I was very afraid, especially when he had a face-to-face with Kurt Angle. I was like, oh, God, Rude's going to lose. They're going to do Angle versus Hardy. It does look like for the immediate future, it's going to be Angle versus Jarrett. So,
or Hardy versus Jarrett.
Hardy versus Jarrett. So, at least for the next month, we kind of have an idea. As for what goes on from here on out, well, we can certainly give our opinion, but we'll see how it all plays out.
And by the way, building off of what you said about the wrestling media, I have to say I'm still waiting for Cena versus Rock to be canceled. I'm still waiting because that was supposed to happen. That news story that came out, it's like some high-ranking official in the WWE, who we're not going to name, is being reported by some anonymous source that obviously we're not going to name, that Cena versus Rock may or may not be canceled at WrestleMania 28, and they try to pass that off like it's news. Really, and I believe that was PW Insider that broke that one. So, yeah, that's how credible you are.
Well, these are still the people that, like, the night Sabu got fired from TNA when AJ Styles pinned him, like you would think they would have. You would have think that they raped Sabu backstage. They were like he just deserves so much better than the way they put him out. How can they do that to Sabu of all people? I'm like, because he's very, very old.
Other way around, if they'd done it the other way around, where Sabu had pinned AJ, the whole world would have been on fire about how a TNA original had been pinned by a has-been. So,
right, and here's
whatever.
The stipulate. At this point, they were wrapping up the EV2 story, so you had to get those guys out of there. And having AJ pin Sabu is logical. I'm sorry. Sabu at his best with a guy that hit some cool high spots, but botched a lot. And
watch
any Botchamania. So please don't convince me that anyone that thinks at this point Sabu can contribute anything in terms of a long-term storyline to any wrestling company is an idiot who's just a Sabu mark, and his name is Gabe Sobalski.
Too true.
Dragon Gate USA. We're gonna bring Sabu in. He's gonna team with some guy named AR Fox, and they're gonna fight the Doof. Dragon Gate USA, where we come up with the worst names ever for stables. Kamikaze USA, Blood Warriors, Typhoon. Yeah. Hello.
Hello.
All right.
Well, yeah, I mean, my comment here, guys, Dragon Gate USA is if you're considered a poor man's Ring of Honor,
you're really screwed.
That's like being a poor man's homeless person.
Oh, fuck!
Ouch, dude!
Oh,
I mean, we're talking bag lady shitting in her pants and shaking it out of her leg.
Right, not that there isn't good talent on Dragon Gate. That's not what we're saying, and they don't. We're not saying that they don't have good matches. It's just that their stature in the American wrestling scene it is what it is.
No, and I got defensive with one of them because they put out some tweet on. I'll say tweet on Facebook because I'll just be like getting a Diet Coke out of a Pepsi machine or something like that. But they put out a
status update. You mean?
Yeah, status update. They put out a status update basically challenging TNA and all that. And I'm like, oh, yeah? Great. What channel are you on? I'll watch you.
Oh, that's a great
time are you on? Oh, if you go to www.la, and I'm like, look, I'm sorry, and I know TNA is much smaller than WWE, but their darkest day was when they had their Impact shows on the Internet. And I think
that was pathetic. I do remember that, yeah.
And those were their darkest days of all, right? And these shows are at that level. They're at the level of TNA's darkest days, and they're sitting there saying, oh, well, we're superior. And it's like, you can argue that your show is more entertaining, but you can't argue to be bigger because you're not even on TV.
Well, Case, I'll even say this. Those dark days, TNA had a deal in place. The problem was they had to wait for the WWE's deal to expire before they could go on Spike. They were doing it because it's like, well, shit, our deal with Fox is up, and we can't get them to extend to, a couple of extra weeks. Spike wants us, but they got to wait for the WWE to show up because WWE isn't stupid like ECW and doesn't have a no-compete clause, I guess, with the company. And, so look, those dark days, it's like, it was a brief dark period. It's like, I'd say it was a brief dark period. Does Dragon Gate USA even have, like, an opportunity to do what Ring of Honor does right now? Have, like, a syndication deal? Not that I hear.
Well, Ring of Honor, people, I rip on Ring of Honor a lot, but they've been around 10 years now, guys, and they made great strides, and, it's a nice company, and I don't. My only problem with Ring of Honor, and I said it before and I'll say it again, is their fan base, and it's like that's the main reason I can't be a Rush fan, the band Rush. It's like, yes, I like their music, but your fans are so goddamn pretentious that I can't possibly call myself a fan at the risk of sounding like one of those sons of bitches.
Well, the problem is now Ring of Honor is being run by the biggest style of fan like that. His name is Jim Cornette. And I have got to go to work, so I'm going to close on that. I'm going to say in closing, fuck you, Jim Cornette, you fat, stupid son of a bitch. You're not helping anything. Retire already, you dumb motherfucker.
I thought that was going to be what you were going to say about Hulk Hogan going into this week, honestly.
I didn't want to get
either
into
or, it worked.
you again.
Yeah, well, whatever. Yeah, I'll give you that I'm probably making crap up. Maybe people at home would saying who was Robert Roode, but I think the live crowd might have known. But yeah, I'm just trying to come up with an excuse. He should have won the belt. I will not deny that. But I'm looking forward to seeing what the hell happens on Impact. Because honestly, before I talked to Patrick today, I did not read the spoilers because I wanted to see it myself, and I was stunned. So I'm looking forward to seeing this.
Okay.
Is it on tomorrow night where it happens?
Yeah.
Interesting. Okay, guys. Have a good night. Thanks again, everybody, for choosing WrestlingEpicenter.com. Have a good day. Bye-bye.